Hello, friends. That's not creepy, is it? So on Tuesday we recorded a very long podcast. Oleg and I did with Praz off in Italy doing whatever. And in the middle of it, I basically started telling stories about weddings and funerals and other stuff. And it was fun and it was funny. But then for some reason, we got back on track for some reason. And we had a long, like a half-hour discussion about baseball scouting and analytics. And I've heard from several people about how good that was. And they were all concerned that maybe some of you didn't stick around through church chat to get to it. So I'm going to try something different. I've actually cut that, 27 minutes of the podcast out. And this is like a best of Carson, except it's a best of pointless exercise. And so now you can watch or listen to that if you want. So enjoy. When they added the playoff team, then you're going to have more teams in it, so you should push the deadline back. But they also got rid of the August trades. So there's nothing. I mean, well, I guess the Cubs showed you can get Carlos Santana and Aaron Savali.
And Savali, yeah.
But yeah, they should have just pushed it back. It didn't make any sense to me. You think they would want to do it? And the other reason I think it's going to happen, and it's going to happen for a weird reason. It's going to happen. Major League Baseball teams are all pissed off at the trade deadline now is too close to the draft. When they move the draft to the All-Star, so teams, you only have X amount of scouts, and most teams, including the Cubs, are cutting back on the number of scouts that they actually employ. So they're trying to prep for two big things all at once. Right. Because you've only got like 10 or 11 days after the All-Star break before the trade deadline, and you just had the draft.
Yeah.
And so I think their whole thing is, all right, fine. If you want the draft to happen during the All-Star break, so you can have it on TV that nobody watches, then push the trade deadline back so we can finish the draft stuff, and then we can shift into, like a month's worth of getting ready for trades instead of a week, instead of a crash course in less than 2 weeks. So I do think it'll happen. I think they'll move it back to the 15th of August.
But I also think that teams are prepping, like teams take all year to prep for the trade deadline, right? They know, they have a good sense of other teams' farms. Yeah. Like this isn't,
well,
they have a good sense of other teams' farms. Like what blows my mind, honestly, is football. Like keeping track of 53 players plus practice squads plus all of these other players down to the point of who fits your system and who doesn't. That is maddening to me.
Well,
that I can't wrap my brain around.
Why
but that's also why you have 46 coaches.
Yes. Yeah. Ryan Poles will tell you it's tough. In theory, it shouldn't matter in baseball because you've got amateur scouts and you've got your pro scouts.
Yeah.
But good teams will say, like the Rays and the Dodgers will say, you like to use them to kind of cross-check each other.
Yeah.
You've got your pro scouts. We're looking at pro players, but you do want them to take a look at some of the prospects and weigh in. Like, does you think this guy projects? And then the opposite, you want that to happen. And then some clubs just don't have very many scouts. They've just decided they don't want to pay that many guys.
Right.
So they literally have them doing both at the same time, which is insane.
Yeah. It's funny. I was having a text chat about Moneyball. Like I still think the message of or the point of Moneyball gets missed sometimes. But I'm still having this chat with this one guy about like scouts versus stats, and I think that access to more of the pitch by pitch statistics, spin rates, things like that, actually is bringing back the importance of scouting a lot more. Which is the other annoying thing about the Cubs is that like now you have to it's not just about seeing a number on the screen. Now it's all about like what is the tweak that you have to make to somebody or somebody's mechanics or somebody's swing or whatever it is. So now you need scouts even more in order to figure that out. It's not just results based anymore. It's how do you get to those results that matter. And so now you get to the point where you need a robust scouting department in order to identify these things, like because that's where the market and efficiency really is, right? It's in that, like, how do you take a player who doesn't have great results? Like, look at Cade Horton. Like, Cade Horton is pretty much the perfect example. Like, he had terrible results in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Then he had a surgery. Then he had terrible results. And then something happened, some tweak happened, and boom, there it goes. Like Wake Forest, I think Vanderbilt, both of those are like famous for their pitching.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a pitching lab or whatever the fuck they have, right? But their pitching infrastructure, and it's just about making that tweak to somebody's something,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden you unlock all of this potential.
The important thing, as maligned as I like to make the Cubs
Yeah,
minor league system and
yeah,
their
yeah,
Dan Kantrovitz, that was a really inspired pick because they looked at him. He was really only good in the College World Series. Hadn't he added a curveball like right before
yeah,
the,
something like
and
that. Yeah,
he
yeah,
threw the shit out of it, and he was really
yep,
good.
yep, yep,
And there were a bunch of teams who were like, "Well, we haven't seen that enough. We're not gonna." And the Cubs were
yep,
like, "This is guy. If he played one more year at Oklahoma, would be like a top
yep,
3 pick.
yep,
We'll just
yep,
take him right now."
yep, yep,
And it was really smart, and it's worked.
yeah,
Um,
and
your
that's what I'm
point, I
saying.
think
And
your
it's
point is exactly right. One of the problems,
yeah,
and where the Dodgers do it right and the other teams don't, is the Dodgers are like, okay, we want people who can. We've got people who can collect the data.
yes,
We need people who can actually analyze the data.
yes,
And then we need like traditional scouts who
yes,
can figure out what players can actually apply it. Because
yep,
you can look at a guy's like pitch numbers. Little Lance
yeah,
Brodzowski can give you all the stats, but that doesn't mean the player can actually make the adjustment that you tell. All
yes,
you got to do is
that's right.
this. Well, not everybody can do
Yeah,
that.
that's
You
right.
know, that thing might
I think
be,
that's
well,
right.
yeah, I can't fucking do that. I can't,
Yeah, yeah,
and where the Dodgers have unsurprisingly cleaned up, it's so have the Rays. As teams have
mhm,
gotten rid of some of their scouts, the Dodgers
yeah,
and Rays go poach the best ones, and they just keep
yeah,
adding to
100%.
their
Yes,
staff.
yes,
And their
yep,
staff, they're actually increasing the separation because they do all the other stuff. They have their stupid little magic
yeah,
cameras and all that stuff, and
yeah,
they've got
yeah,
other stuff,
yeah,
but
yeah,
they're not just like, well, let's throw 4 more bodies at it. They look at a team like the Cubs get rid of scouts, and they're like, well, these 2 guys are really good. We'll just hire them. And they add
yep,
quality, not just quantity to
yep,
things.
yep,
It doesn't make any
yeah. I
sense.
think
The Cubs have so many advantages that they just refuse to take, and this is
yeah,
one of them. Like they have enough capital
hmm,
that they should be exactly like the Dodgers in this case, which is we buy all the stupid analytical equipment that we can get our hands on, and we hire the best analysts we can find, and we still have all of our regular scouts. And that's what Jed's job, right, is to sit in the middle
yeah,
and like figure out, okay, you handle this, you handle this, tell us what you think, and then I have to figure out what makes sense and what doesn't.
yeah,
Instead, they look at it like, oh, we could save a lot of money if we don't do this.
right,
The
right,
most infuriating thing they talked about at Cub Convention was they said they weren't going to send scouts to, they weren't going to have in-person scouts at like the Midwest League, the Florida State League, and like the Southern League anymore.
yeah,
They were only going to have them at AAA and then in like the Complex League and the Dominican
yeah,
League. And so they asked Carter, who talks way too much, and he's like, "Oh no, we have cameras in those parks. We don't need scouts there. We can get all the data we
yes,
need."
yeah,
It's like, that's not the fucking point. Why don't you have
yeah,
both? You're the Cubs.
yes,
You should
yes,
have
yeah,
both, not
yes,
one or
yeah,
the other.
yes. I agree with you. Although to be fair, and I think there's a little bit of this. Um, the cameras and the amount of cameras that they have now at all of these different ballparks and all like there's a lot there that gets captured. There's a lot of
Yeah.
data that
There's
comes
a lot
back
of
from it. There's a
data,
lot
but
there.
I
And,
would
and
like them, because they have money, to also
yes,
have some
to
asses in the seats who see the
yes,
stuff, who see
yes,
the other
yes,
things,
yeah,
that they're not just measuring what the ball is doing
yes,
or the
yes.
swing plane. They're actually looking
Right.
at the player.
At the mechanics of the
Because
player, of the swing path, because that's exactly what I'm saying. Like I also think that the nature or what a scout's job is has changed, right? It's no longer
yeah,
about, oh, this guy just runs really fast or this guy looks like a ball player, whatever it is, right? Now it's this guy is where he is now, whatever level he's at now. If we make this, like it looks like if we make this tweak, he can be a little bit better. You go talk to the guy to see if he's capable
yeah,
of being coached to make that tweak, if he's capable of doing the training to make it second nature,
yeah,
and boom, you unlock it. And that's where things
right,
happen. So I think that the nature of scouting has changed. And to be fair to the Cubs, is there and being analytical and having analytics department and having these databases and having all of this data, That's not unique anymore.
No.
That's not like everybody does that. Like the Cubs pitch slab, it may or may not be like, you make fun of it, and there's a lot to be make to, there's a lot there to make fun of, or critique at the very least. But like, I don't know that that's necessarily a unique thing for them anymore.
No, it's not. Everybody's got it.
Everybody's got it now, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's got the old drive line thing with all the cameras and all the sensors and whatever the fuck else they do and the slow motion. Like, that's not technology. Isn't like we always talk about it when we talk, in my industry, when we talk about AI and data and stuff like that. Like, everybody has access to the same technology. People, right? It's people, process, technology. People are no longer like, you can hire offshore people for cheap, right? People, you don't gain an advantage, a market advantage in the people, unless you fire everybody and you focus on cameras and things like that.
Yeah.
But the process is where it matters, and how do you teach players to make a change? It's not an accident that um, that Jackson Ferris and Zaire Hope go to the Dodgers and all of a sudden become top 10 or top 20, whatever they
Yeah.
are, prospects, right? It's not that the Dodgers knew what they were looking at. They knew what tweaks they had to make to unlock potential of these players. And now that's not to say that the Cubs couldn't have done it, because the Cubs are pretty good at doing that
Yeah.
also. But the
Cubs
Dodgers
knew what
knew
they were
what
giving up too.
Right. The Cubs knew what they were giving up, but the Dodgers also knew what they were getting, and specifically probably asked for those players based on these things that aren't just, this guy has a 3 ERA, so therefore he's
Yeah.
good or not good or whatever. So I just thought results is how you get to those results that matter.
Well, and it
It's showing your
was
work.
so the Dodgers. Boog always talks about how the Cubs were smart to go get a guy who was blocked so he could help them
Sure.
right away, and that's
Sure.
true.
Yes.
But the Dodgers were reaping the benefit of having excess prospects, right? Like, they had Michael Busch, who was a good player, but they didn't have a spot for him because they
Sure.
had prospects around the team. Plus, they had gone
Yeah.
out, they bought Freddie
Yeah.
Freeman, and they'd done all this other stuff. And you could look at it as the Cubs giving up a really good young, potentially good arm to get a
Yeah.
first baseman is a
Yeah.
failure of their own system to not be able to develop their own first baseman.
Yes. Like, imagine a world where Matt Shaw was blocked at the major league level, and you could go out and get Mackenzie
Mackenzie
Gore, or you
Gore.
go out
Yeah.
and get somebody for him that's right. Like, imagine that scenario,
Yeah.
or not even Mackenzie. Like, imagine if having a play like Mike. Let's the baseline here is Michael Busch is a good ball player, right? He's a perfectly fine. He's a good ball player. He's a major league ball player, maybe even an all-star. He's good. He's good. Imagine that being extra on your team, in
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
organization, to the point where you can go out and even get a couple of prospects who are 3 years away and be able to make all stars out of these prospects. And maybe, hell, maybe by the time that Zaire Hope gets the major league level or is ready, he's going to be blocked,
He
and the Dodgers just do it again.
he apparently was one of the guys the Dodgers were looking for pitching, and that's one of the guys they were willing to give up to get. They were already ready to flip
Oh yeah, yes, yes,
Zaire
yes,
Hope.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, yeah. Like, and that's the thing, right? It's not this loss of money. It's not this kind of it's not a sunken cost. You develop the player in order you've made this point before. You develop the player, you develop prospects so that you can use them in one of two ways. They either help your major league team by playing for them, or they help your major league team by being traded
Yeah.
for good players. And so it's okay if they turn out to be good. That's a good thing.
Yeah,
Right? It's a
that's
good thing that you trade away good
right.
prospects.
And it's a thing, fans tend to freak out
Hmm.
when you trade a player
Hmm.
and he ends up being good for somebody else. Well, that was the whole idea. So, like, if Cam Smith, who got off to a rocky start, looked really good, and now he looks bad again, he's
Yeah.
probably going to be a good player for the Astros.
He'll be a fine ball player. Yeah.
That's not a bad outcome for the Cubs,
Yeah, it's great. It's fine. Yeah.
because if every prospect you trade away sucks,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
value of your prospects all drop. Teams are like, oh,
Right.
we're going to get another one of these failed assholes from the Cubs. You need some of them to hit. Now, if one of them turns into a superstar, you probably screwed that up, because that's a guy you
Well,
should have hung on to and traded somebody else. But if they just become good players, and it also depends who you get back for them. So, like, if the Cubs, who got Kyle Tucker for him, if the Cubs manage to keep Kyle, then you don't care
Right,
If Cam
right,
Smith becomes
100%.
a
Right, right.
a 5-WAR player for the next 10
Yeah,
years, you got
yeah, fine.
at least as
You got
good or
Kyle
probably a
Tucker.
better player who could help you immediately for him. You
Yeah,
won. You did fine. If you didn't win the trade, you certainly didn't lose it. Um, but and I will say the exception to that was for whatever reason, the Cubs were one of the big problems for this. In the 90s, the Braves could trade pitching
yes,
prospects for
yes,
anything they wanted, and
yeah,
only
because
one
they
of
had,
them, literally,
yeah,
only one of them was ever good, Jason Schmidt.
yeah,
Every
yeah,
other pitching prospect they traded sucked, and the Cubs
yeah.
got a bunch of them.
Joey Nation, like
Yes,
that
Joey
guy.
Nation, Micah Bowie, Ruben
Yeah,
Quevedo, Yorkis
unbelievable.
Perez. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
it was amazing. And now, I granted, some of it was, especially when I look back and looked at some of the trades, some of it was Jim Hendry basically being, some of the trades were minor trades.
yeah,
And he
yes,
basically was like, what would they get for Damon Berryhill? And it was an after September trade. Like
yeah,
when Donahue and I had to figure out why the hell it happened. And it happened because the Braves had an injury and they needed a catcher just to finish the season because they were still
yeah,
battling with whoever in the division. And they threw the Cubs a couple of pitching prospects. And Henry's probably like, well, if you're going to take one from somebody, you might as well take a Brave. They at least been
yeah,
coached right. Maybe they'll work out. So some of it was just him going to the organization that knew how to develop pitching and taking flyers on some of these guys. But there were a lot of teams, and the Cubs did it a couple of times, who were like, John Schwarholtz was like, oh, look at this guy. Take
yeah,
him. And they're like, oh,
yeah,
gimme.
yeah,
And I always, it's off quoted by me, but it was one of the funniest things Steve Stone ever said. Steve, during a broadcast one time, and one of the Cub pitchers was getting blown up, he goes, if the Braves call you and offer you one of their pitchers, hang up.
yeah,
Like, don't do it. You're not getting
yeah.
anything. Just stop it.
Like
But
I will say this, the other side of that equation though is if you are an organization who is really bad at developing players, right? Like you're not good at developing players. I think that there is also something to be said about teams looking at that and going, well, I'm gonna trade for
yeah,
this guy from this bad organization because I think I can do a better job and unlock something. Again, this is where scouting comes in.
yep,
I know Andrew Vaughn's coming back to earth, but that's kind of part of that, right? It's like the Brewers going, well, if we can get this guy, like I think that this team is just really bad at developing
yeah.
players and they didn't do the right thing. And I don't know what Andrew Vaughn has done, or I don't know if he's changed his swing or there's a hitch, whatever
I
it
don't
is.
know.
Whatever it is, right? But like there's something to be said for that also. I think that no matter what, everything has to happen on a case by case basis. Like I don't think it really matters all that much. Um, like the fact that Steve Avery was good, I don't know that that had as much of an effect on Joey. Like, and back then it was a different world, right? You didn't have the same technology, you didn't have the same data that you
Yeah,
have now. So I think that now even more so, I don't know that we can make those types of connections, right? Like an organization is just an organization. You look at a player, you scout a player, you say, hey, these guys aren't unlocking this from this player. We think we can make this tweak, and boom, now the player
yeah.
gets
I mean,
unlocked.
I would say one of the
And
things
so I
that has
think there's something to that.
changed dramatically
Hmm.
is this seems ridiculous to look back on it
Hmm.
this way, but this was a real thing. The Peter Gammon's Sunday column in the Boston Globe,
Hmm.
he would get information, especially from the Red Sox. It was the Boston Globe. He covered the Red Sox all the time, but he was the national baseball writer. So we talked to everybody else. There were certain GMs who would basically who would trump up
Yeah,
their own prospects to him,
yeah,
and he would write
yeah, yeah,
about them. And other teams who didn't have sophisticated scouting would be like, "Oh, I've
yeah,
heard of that guy." The Red Sox and other teams could literally just float bullshit
yep,
to Pete, and he would write it, and then the value would go up. And it's
yeah,
not that much different than they were talking about like one of the first NFL drafts, and a
hmm,
couple of the teams showed up with a Street and Smith's college football preview from the year before, and that's what they were using to by the 6th or 7th round. They were literally like going through the preseason All America list and going, "What about this guy? Is he still available?" And that's how they were picking
yeah.
players.
Oh
That's not
man,
that. I mean, that might be 40 years ago, but that's not. Well, I've been more than
yeah,
that now. It's not that long ago that the
you're
teams
right,
didn't.
right, right,
They
right,
didn't even take some of this shit that seriously. Like,
right, right,
whatever.
right. Yeah, but well, I will say this, I I can be 99.9% confident that that doesn't happen.
No, it
Either
doesn't.
of those
Well, no,
scenarios.
I hope not. But it even gets back
But
to
there's,
like, so like the Cardinals during their glory days back in
Yeah.
like the 40s, they had more minor league team affiliates than
Yeah.
anybody else because there wasn't a limit. There was no 40-man roster. There was
Right.
no
Right.
whatever.
Right.
And they
Right.
would just bringing in people they
Yeah.
would just sign
Yes.
anybody and they just
Yeah.
sift
Yeah.
through them. That was Branch
Yeah.
Rickey before he was with the Dodgers, with the Cardinals. And
Yep.
he's like, okay, well, you're just sifting through bodies because they were just willing to spend the money to have all these, like, there were like class D leagues and F leagues, and
Yeah.
some of these guys were making like $50 a week, and they
Yeah.
didn't, they're
Yeah.
playing pro. All these people, there's a whole generation of people. Oh, my grandpa played minor league baseball. Yeah, anybody that fucking
Yeah. So
wanted to
everybody.
could play back
Yes.
then.
Yeah.
And then they
I
finally
will say
tightened that
this.
up. So there've always been organizations that were willing to just like they were basically looking at an inefficiency, which was it's really hard to find minor league players. Why don't we just give ourselves a lot more shots at it? We'll have 15 minor league affiliates. Who gives a shit? Most of these guys are never going to make it past the F league or whatever,
Yeah.
but one of them might be good, and then it's
Who
all
cares? Yeah,
worth it.
right. It's like a tryout. It's like why teams have tryouts, right? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're just having a tryout. But hey, one guy shows something, like boom, there you go.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like we were talking about it before we started recording. Like the way that you get to a really good idea is by having a ton of ideas,
Yeah.
right? You don't just come up with one good idea, just have a ton of ideas, and 98% of them are going to be terrible ideas, but you're just looking for that one great
Yeah.
idea. And that's the power, or uh that's where somebody like the Cubs could show their financial muscle. It's sort of exactly what Theo Epstein wanted to do
Yes.
with the
I was just going to bring
international
that up.
signings, right?
Yep.
Like that's exactly what it was. It's like you just go out and there's no salary. You go out and you get a bunch of players. Who cares if you give them $2 million and
Yep.
they don't work out? It's kind of what the Cubs are doing now. It's a lot of the international stuff now. Just there's a cap on
There's
it,
a cap.
but the
Yeah.
Cubs are signing $4 million players that
Yep.
aren't like they signed this guy Fernando Cruz last year. He's kind of sucks.
Yeah.
You give him $4 million, like hey, maybe it'll come out. But in the long run, that $4 million go a long way. And it's not about that 4 million. It's about spending $10 million. And if you got one players with 100 million, then you're making up for it.
Yeah. No, that's funny because I was thinking of that same thing. I mean, Theo,
Mhm.
when he agreed to come to the Cubs,
Yeah.
he had a basic plan, which was, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to spend like crazy in the international market. We're just going to take flyers on as many guys as we can
Yep.
get. And then during the season, we are going to trade for prospective free agents, as
Yeah.
many as we can get. Because when we don't sign them, when they sign with somebody else, we'll get a draft pick. And that was their whole plan. They were going to do all this stuff. And literally the winter after he takes the job, they redo the CBA and all that gets eliminated. A player acquired in season no longer has draft pick
Yep.
compensation attached to him. So that idea is out the window.
Yeah. Yep.
Here's the
Yeah.
international
Yeah.
bonus
Yeah.
pool cap. You can only
Yep.
spend this amount. So they had
Yep.
1 year where they could do that. And they
Yeah.
got Jorge
And they
Soler
got
and Gleyber
Soler
Torres.
and Eloy Jimenez. They signed Torres and Jimenez in the
Oh,
same
oh, that's
international
right. You're
signing
right. It
period,
was, they
and they were
already
the
had
top
Jorge. Yeah.
two. They were literally the top two. Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
and it was a wonderful idea, and it worked for a year, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, they got a
But
World
then,
Series out
then
of
the
it.
rug got pulled out from under him.
Yeah.
Which one of the things that's crazy to me is looking back, there were these people. I mean, most famously Al Yellen and Hub Arkush, who couldn't believe how long the rebuild was taking. Al
Yeah.
wrote that Theo, how long must we wait article,
Yeah.
which we made fun of
Like in
every
year
day
3.
for like
Yeah.
5 years. And
Yeah.
Hub, after the 2014 season, gave up his season tickets because the Cubs weren't going anywhere. They hired Theo in October of 2011.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
won. They were the best team in baseball in the second half of 2015
Yeah. Yeah.
when
Yeah.
they went on that
Yep.
ridiculous roll to
Yep.
get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
It was 4
Arietta was
years.
amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
It was 3
Yeah.
seasons. 2012,
Yeah.
2013, 2014. That's all we
100%.
waited. And they were
100%.
they were terrible on purpose in 2012. Like they were
Yes.
literally like
Oh yeah. Yes.
they were making sure they lost as many games as possible. And they were
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
bad still in 13, but by 14, they were
Yeah.
like Jake was up.
Anybody
Javi made his
who's
debut in 14. Like you
yeah.
could start
Yeah.
to see it. Like, holy shit,
Yeah.
they've actually started to figure this out.
Anybody who saw what they were doing, anybody who paid attention to the draft in the minor leagues,
Yeah.
I know you make like it's easy to be a prospect, but anybody who paid attention to what they were doing, you see this plan coming together, and it's happening now. Not to get off too much off the subject, but that's sort of what's happening now with the Blackhawks. is that like anybody who's paying attention to what Kyle Davidson is doing, he's doing much of the, he's accumulating all these first round draft picks. He's got a ton of plays. There's probably 20 players who might be NHL players that he's got. And if a couple of them
Yeah.
actually develop and work out, like, holy shit, you got yourself. So never mind about getting the number one pick and lucking into that. It's sort of the same way that Theo lucked into Arrieta,
Yeah.
right? Like, granted, it may have been that tweak or what I was talking about before that he saw in Arrieta, but I mean, come on. And so like if you see, like, I can't imagine giving up Blackhawk season tickets now. That'd be similar to what Hub did in 2014,
Yeah.
right? Like I can't imagine, like you can see this team, and it still might be a few years because it's hockey and it takes a little bit longer than in baseball, but like you could see this plan coming together. It's frankly, it's the same thing that polls did, right? Like it's just you could kind of see these things
Yeah.
just all sort of coming together. And in football, it might be a little bit more difficult. It might be a little bit more variance. I'm not sure what it is, but like all you do is you pay attention and you kind of like there's without being explicit about it, there's a plan there, and
Yeah.
that's all that you want.
Okay. I
And
want to
this
make,
is what's frustrating about the current Cubs team is that I don't know that they have a plan. I don't know what that plan is. Right? I don't know what they're trying to do, how they're going to win,
yeah, I mean,
how they're trying to
they
win.
seem to
They're
signal
locking into this.
going all in this year when they make the Tucker trade, and then
Yep.
they did nothing after that
And
that
then,
signaled that. Then they completely backed off, like, "Ooh, that was enough." So
right.
the poll you bring up polls reminded me of something I want to talk about. But before that, I want to talk about the prospect pervert thing, because to me I make fun of the prospect perverts
Yeah.
because they still act like the Cubs have like their minor leagues have Javi Baez, Chris Bryant, Addison
Addison
Russell,
Russell. Yeah.
Kyle Schwarber in it.
Schwarber. Yeah. Yeah.
They
They don't.
don't.
Yes.
Every team
No.
has to have a top four
Starts full there.
prospects
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you rank them. But that doesn't mean that those four are anywhere good as the four you had. And
At one point, the
that's why
Cubs
I
in
make fun of them, because
2014.
they
Yeah.
just act like, well,
Yeah.
look how good Chris Bryant was. Yes, they'll never happen again. That's a once in a
And they
lifetime
lucked it,
thing.
and that's yeah, they lucked into Chris Bryant because the
Yes,
Astros took Mark
took
Appel.
Mark Appel.
Like
They got too
like
smart, and they've
yeah. Like you see, like that's sort of the thing is that you need a little bit of luck. And sorry, you're going to get to a polls thing, to your polls point. But like the thing about it is that at one point the Cubs in 2014 had like four of the 20 top prospects. Like it wasn't, to your point, it
yeah
wasn't just like they
no.
have top, like Kevin
They
Alcantara is
had
not
what
anything.
the Red Sox have been calling up lately
Yeah,
is that's
yes,
the equivalent of,
yes,
because you bring Roman Anthony and
yeah. Christian
Sedane
Campbell when he's
Rafaela
getting down.
and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
weird looking pitcher that they brought up, who I hope is really
Von
good because
Bale. Yeah, yeah.
he's crazy. Like this fat curly haired kid who's
Oh, the other,
apparently
yeah,
really good. Um, but everybody acts like, well, those are the top four prospects, and yes, they're really good. Your four
yeah.
don't have to be anywhere near as good as those four are.